recording there of the sound of anti-aircraft fire in Odessa. Well, the raids took place just hours after Russia accused Ukraine of carrying out a drone attack on the Kremlin in what it claimed was an attempt to assassinate President Putin, an accusation that Ukraine denies. Well, on the line is Michael Bosicki, the senior fellow at the American think tank The Atlantic Council. Used to be a spokesman for Ukraine at the Intergovernmental Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe, and he joins us from Odessa. Morning, Michael. Just tell us what you saw, what you heard overnight.
Yes, good to be with you again. It was a very violent night by standards here. In Odessa alone, 12 of 15 drones were shot down, and nationwide 18 of 24. But in all of my time here in Odessa, which has been months, I have never heard the drones so close. I live in central Odessa, and as much anti-aircraft fire. The authorities are now saying there is some damage to a educational institution dormitory, but no deaths or injuries. But a bit further away in southern Ukraine, Kherson, very, very deadly. 24 hours, 21 dead there, 48 injured, including dead in a supermarket. So whether the overnight attacks that we saw here in Odessa were linked in any way to that alleged attack on the Kremlin, we don't know, but it sure did put a lot of people on edge.
But when you say the authorities talk about there was damage to an educational dormitory, do you know whether this is a civilian or a military educational institution?
Well, around me are a lot of educational institutions, especially those dealing with maritime matters. So Odessa is a very big kind of scholarly center. So to the best of my knowledge, there are no military installations close to us here where a lot of the fire was coming from. But it was very, very loud, very, very frightening right in the middle of the night.
I imagine it must have absolutely have been. And when the air raid sirens do sound in the middle of the night, what do you do? What do people in Odessa do? Are there underground shelters that you go to?
There are, but most people are used to the sirens, and I would suspect, at least from what I saw in my building, most people just try to sleep through it. But as I've been hearing from my friends, for example, elsewhere in Odessa or in Kiev, that they haven't slept very well the past few nights because of the frequency of the drone attacks. But the other thing I should mention is a lot of schools in Ukraine do not have bomb shelters, and unless they do, they're not allowed to operate. So that's a big hindrance to education here as well.
Did people expect some kind of an attack overnight after those allegations we heard from the Kremlin yesterday accusing Ukraine of attempting to assassinate President Putin in Moscow?
Oh yes, absolutely, because I think most people here have become accustomed to quite rapid so-called retaliation from Moscow when these sorts of things happen, whether it was the sinking of the Moskva, the attack on the Kherson Strait Bridge, or this one in Moscow. And a lot of people I've spoken to, and I subscribe to this theory as well, is that it was a false flag operation. The Russians trying to either create conditions for more mobilization within Russia, to create an escalation, or to create conditions for a direct strike on a significant Ukrainian government installation here in Ukraine. And I can tell you, according to a senior Western diplomat here, the kind of anxiety is so high right now in Kyiv that employees of the Parliament, the National Parliament, have been advised not to come to work for the next 2 days. So definitely there was a lot of expectation over the past few hours that something big would happen.
Right, yeah, when you say a false flag operation, that phrase you used a moment ago, that is to say, it is likely that Russia staged this attack on the Kremlin itself to use as a pretext to retaliate. I suppose you might put some quote marks to that attack. Let's talk about what is happening inside Russia. There have also been reports over the past few hours of an oil refinery in Krasnodar, in a place called Ilsky, having been set on fire after a likely drone attack. This is the third oil reservoir to be attacked in Russia in less than a week. Is it Ukraine behind these attacks, and what is the aim of these attacks, or what impact are these attacks likely to have?
Sure, impossible to say, but it does seem to fit a pattern of attacks in and around Crimea, from possibly pro-Ukrainian elements within Crimea. This one actually is not that far from the Kerch Strait Bridge. I've been seeing video on social media, and it seems like quite a big explosion. This, and it's also being reported by Russian media, so it must create more anxiety, more insecurity within Russia. And even if the Kremlin, if the alleged Kremlin attack was a false flag operation, it can only signal to many, many Russian people that this Ukraine war, this instability is coming much, much closer to their doorstep.
And do we know whether these attacks on oil refineries do have an impact on Russia's ability to wage war?
One would think, because a lot of these installations are close to Crimea, which is a big resupply base, a big source of equipment and men, fuel for the war in Ukraine. So that also begs the question when Ukraine, with Western aid, is going to be able to sever that land bridge linking mainland Russia with the other parts of Ukraine, because this supply route is really benefit all the